Okay, it's 30 types in 30 days, and this is day number 25. Let's look at Leviticus chapter 16 just because it is so interesting to look at typologically. This is the most important sacrifice of the entire year for the ancient Jews. This is the sacrifice that had to be made by the high priest in the Holy of Holies, where he would only go in alone to do it, and only he could do it. And it had to be done so that the sins of the people could be completely removed every year. They had to do it again and again and again every year as it went by. So the high priest would do it. Now, what's great to note and so interesting to note, and has been pointed out by Gerald Payton in a book called Levitical Sacrificial System, that the typology in here is such that is perfect, because in chapter 16 verse 4 it says that the high priest had to take off all of his beautiful high priestly garments, the ones we read about in Exodus chapter 28. He did everything in those garments, but not this most important sacrifice of the year. In this sacrifice, he had to take off all of those and put on these very simple, plain-looking linen garments. And he would put these on, and then he would perform the sacrifice. In this sacrifice, 2 goats had to be sacrificed, or 2 goats were a part of the sacrifice for the people. 1 goat was killed. 1 goat was completely sacrificed, killed for the people because of their sin, to make atonement for their sin, and that's in verse 15. And then in Leviticus chapter 16, verses 21 and 22, we see that the other goat had all the sins of the people laid on it by the high priest, and then it was sent off to its own solitary place, never to be heard from again. In other words, their sin is completely removed from them. So the death of the one, and then the carrying away completely of the sin by the other. And only then, in verse 23 and 24, now the high priest goes, he puts on back all his high priestly garments, all the beautiful robes that he wears, and then he continues to make a burnt offering to God, which is much more in line with once your sin is offered for, then you can have fellowship with God, make a burnt offering, give him your heart, give him everything you're about. So we see the picture of Jesus in here beautifully, of course, who came from heaven and laid off all of the beautiful glory of heaven to become only simply dressed, as it were, in his time here, and then made his offering up to God on our behalf. An offering that involved death, an offering that involved the removal of our sin completely away from us forever. Then after that offering, he took back all his wonderful divine garments, if you will, and now stands on our behalf in heaven in all of his beautiful divine way of being. So a beautiful picture again, made every year before the people of Israel. Gorgeous. More tomorrow.